Hey folks, I'm Gene Della Sala with Audioholics.
And I'm Don Dunn with HD 2020.
So Don, today I'd like to do another Why Audiophiles Hate video because, you know, we get a lot of attention with these videos.
We do. We get a lot of hate.
And we get a lot of
A
hate.
little bit of hate.
But you know what? There's a lot of topics that we think that are polarizing for audiophiles. One topic that's always been polarizing for me, of course, is cables. But I want to talk specifically about the M word.
Cable.
Monster cable. Why do audiophiles hate monster cable? That's the question I want to talk about. I want to answer, or try to answer. I want to get your comments down below. So I think what I should do is, because I'm kind of the hater and you're kind of the lover of the brand.
I wouldn't say lover.
Yeah, well, you've been in bed with them.
Well, it was good.
Okay, we shouldn't be telling anyone. That happened in Vegas, right? So, okay, let me tell you my gripes about Monster Cable. First, I'd like to preface it with the fact that we do owe Monster Cable credit for birthing the high-end cable business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, in some aspects it was good that they did do that, because before Monster Cable, people were just using, you know, anything.
Whatever wire.
Yeah, literally lamp cord to plug in their speakers.
Yeah, in fact, I believe Audiophile, if memory serves, did a double-blind listening test, and you know how audiophiles like those tests, where they actually compared Monster Cable to lamp cord and said there was no difference back in the 80s, before my time.
Right. And I'm not giving lamp cord a bad rap, but I'm just saying we can go beyond lamp cord. So Monster was the first to really address this. They were the first to actually use better materials, you know, oxygen-free kind of...
Better jacketing, better construction.
Better construction.
And probably most important, better connectors.
Yeah. Well, I have a beef with some of their connectors. I have this turbine connector, and I don't know if you could see that. We could put some B-roll on it. And I always keep this around to say, be careful with turbines, because what happens is if you don't turn them as you're pushing them in and turn them while you're pushing them out, you'll bring the connector of the receiver with it when you try to take it out.
A lesser piece of gear especially.
Especially because a lot of consumer gear doesn't have strain relief on the connectors.
Well, and to the flip side of that, Gene, as an integrator, 27 years retail sales, when we would set up systems and hook up equipment, it was nice to be able to terminate these connectors and not have them pull out when you pulled the equipment out. It was very frustrating. Yeah. So Monster really did a lot of good from that aspect.
They did. I mean, and this stuff looks good. It looks like it's high end. I just think there was too much stress with these connectors, the turbine connectors. I don't like them. I much prefer something like a Canary connector that I have here from Blue Jeans. And I also prefer using coax cable for audio and
you can
video.
make your own lengths doing that too.
You can make your own lengths.
Nice.
Yeah, and these are beautiful connectors. The only downside of the Canary connector is it's very long. And then this is one of the cases where long is not good.
Well, one of the cases.
Yeah, one of the cases. So anyways, this is a much better connector in my opinion. It doesn't do any damage and it makes good contacts with your RCAs. So, okay, so Monster, the good of Monster is they elevated the quality of cable construction. They got people talking about cables. They raised the bar on connections.
Oh, in fact, the entire industry was changed. In years past, when anybody wanted to get a higher quality speaker cable or connectors, they just used the term Monster cable, no matter what brand it was. Oh, you got any of that Monster cable around? Absolutely. So, I mean, they really pioneered this entire industry.
Well, that's where Monster took it too far, and that's one of the biggest gripes I have with the company, is they are more litigious and more happy to sue people than any other company I've ever seen.
Even Bose?
More than Bose, way more than Bose.
More than Bose, yeah.
See, Bose, you know, Bose had their issues with lifestyle and CEDIA and all that stuff, but Monster literally tried to trademark the name Monster, just the word Monster. So any company that was using Monster in their...
Monster energy drinks,
Monster Mini Golf. We
Right.
actually helped. Monster Mini Golf is a local company. Monster Cable was suing them for having Monster, even though Monster Mini Golf had nothing to do with cables or audio. We're suing them, almost shut them down.
So do we want to blame Monster Cable or the lawyers? Or
well, it's definitely Monster Cable because it comes from the top. It
Absolutely.
comes from Noel Lee.
Absolutely.
And they were getting so bad with these companies. They were doing Monster Village, like 3 or 4 companies at once they were suing, so we brought it out to light.
I mean, I was telling my kid about Monster under the bed, and I got a letter from cease and desist from the lawyer. That's how bad it. I mean,
Monster Inc. Disney.
Oh,
Disney
yeah,
Monster Inc.
Yeah, with the Battle of the Titans.
So we got involved and we started publishing these articles about how Monster was suing these companies, and it backfired on Monster. It really backfired. They wound up paying all the legal fees for Monster Mini Golf, and they dropped the lawsuit. But how far do you have to go with this company to have them to stop trying to sue
with any
companies?
company, how far do you go when you take a general term just because you use it in the name of your company. If it's being used and you can prove that it's taking business away from you,
yeah,
that I understand.
Right.
But just going after a company, and I've seen Under Armour do it with the name Armor, Bose. I mean, it's almost like bullying, because they know if they attack these companies, they don't have the financial wherewithal to hire a legal team to combat them.
Yeah.
And that's not fair, but that's just capitalism.
They're going after the small guy. The funniest example of Monster trying to sue where it backfires was when they tried to sue Blue Jeans Cable over I think it was the Tartan connector.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful to watch, because they didn't realize the owner of Blue Jeans Cable was a former lawyer.
Attorney, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He tore them a new ass with the letter that he published, and I actually put it on my website, and there's a whole article with Darth Vader saying Blue Jeans Cable strikes back. And man, that thing blew up. It went viral. It put egg on Monster's face.
I think Noah Lee has a lightsaber.
Oh, he probably does. So the legal aspects is one of the reasons why I think audiophiles have a disdain for Monster.
One of the factors. So Monster did a lot of things in their history, and we'll touch on a few of them. I started my career in consumer electronics, home electronics, right around the early '90s, and Monster had some really aggressive programs on how to accessorize. From a sales standpoint, how to pack mule or add things to a sale. And one of them was I would sell a $700 DVD player, remember back in the day when they were that much?
Yep,
and I would sell $150 worth of Monster cables to it. I felt good because at the time I drank the Kool-Aid, and I really believed that I was giving the client something important to enhance and increase the performance of what they were doing. And I can't even tell you how many thousands of dollars of Monster products that I sold, and I don't feel guilty over it. I really don't, because they were good products. They were well made. When they came out with Monster Power series of products in the late 90s, they flew in all the engineers like Richard Marsh and some of the people that made their amplifiers and whatnot, took us out, put us in lab coats. It was awesome. And I like Monster Power. I always have their surge protection. It was a good product. So I don't have any hate for them from that standpoint.
Yeah. Well, another aspect that really bothers me about the company, and because of course I'm an engineer, and I like the truth in science. Science is a good thing when it's not abused. The thing that killed me was the Monster demos, and they're not the only company that have done this. AudioQuest has done some really questionable demos, for example. But Monster literally did demos that were so egregiously wrong to anybody but the layman or the uninitiated in audio. I'll give you an example. I was at a trade show, I think it was at CES, and they had the Monster light bulb demo. And they had a series of light bulbs. They had one powered by Monster cable and one powered by Brand X.
Brand X.
And when you press the switch to Brand X, the light bulb was about 30% dimmer than the Monster one. So like, the Monster cable.
Was your brain about 30% dimmer after that test?
Pretty much, because they were basically
like some
saying
Edison stuff.
Yeah, they were basically saying that their cable made better conductivity, right? So when you look at behind the curtain, like it's Wizard of Oz, you look behind the curtain, you see what the wizard actually really has. There's no wizard after all. You look behind the curtain and you see a spool of Monster cable, 12 gauge cable. I don't remember the specific length, but let's say it was 50 feet. Then you see Brand X. It was 100 feet of like 18 gauge cable. So now all you're doing is you're testing difference in resistance. Well, not difference in quality of cable. You're doing different lengths, which was dishonest, and different gauges.
Well, I tell you what was not dishonest is, in my career being an integrator, we wire a lot of homes, and we wire for audio throughout homes in all kinds of levels and scales. And the Monster cable speaker wire, the CL rated stuff you actually put in new construction, was just made better. Had a better, softer jacket. It pulled easier. It was tougher. It was easier to work with. It really was phenomenal cable. So from a build quality and longevity standpoint, I think they made a terrific product. Was there a demonstrable difference between Brand X, 16-4 conductor that we use, or Monster cable 16-4? Probably not, especially with in-ceiling speakers and distribution amplifiers. But from a ability to pull, it pulled easy, it was durable, it was easy to work with. I loved it, but it did cost more.
That's fine, but I don't mind. So we always said it doesn't matter if cables cost more. If they're pretty and they measure well, you can charge whatever you want, but don't do bullshit snake oil. And don't do these demos that are, that are questioning people's intelligence.
What about time alignment? You don't believe in time alignment?
Oh my God, time alignment at the wavelengths of audio frequencies. Let's not digress to that. But the other demo that they did that killed me at Best Buy was they try to show you the benefits of their HDMI cable versus other cables. and you look at the TV and you're like, wow, when you switch to Monster, the picture looks better. And as you know, and we actually had an interview with Joe Profito from Tributaries last week at the Expo show, HDMI either works or it doesn't. So if you see a picture, there's no sparkles, there's no audio dropouts, there's nothing that's going to make that picture better or worse as long as it's working.
However, when you wire it and you run it up a wall and you tug on it and you run it through cables and you bend it and you put it, I mean, the hostile environment that cables have to live in sometimes, you want a better built cable. I have to, I mean, maybe in a laboratory when you put it on your little audio bridges made out of wood in the fields.
No, I'm not talking about, durability.
But no, from a real world scenario, better quality cables that actually connect and locked in and can take the abuse of being, you know, pulled in and out of a rack and whatnot. There's something to be said for that. And I do not knock anybody for buying better quality cables, because we put, I mean, we don't, Monster no longer makes cables, but we don't put super expensive cables, and we put what's appropriate for the job, and they are of quality. But you can get some cheapies out there, and an HDMI is a sensitive cable.
It is.
I mean,
but here's the thing, the demo wasn't really testing HDMI. If you look behind the curtain again, they had an HDMI connected cable, Monster, and then the other brands were component or composite video. So now you're not testing the cables, you're testing different connection types, and obviously HDMI is the only one that's going to give you the HD video. You're not going to get HD video out of composite, you're getting 480i, you know, and even component video is questionable if they can even get 1080. You can't get 1080p.
I remember component video.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's just one of those kind of demos that was BS, and it just puts more egg on their face in my eyes and in other people's. You see, you got two different kinds of audiophiles. You got audiophiles that are actually science-based, which is me, and then you got audio fools like him that just go by faith.
Gotta have the faith. I gotta have. Well, I go by my ears and what I hear.
Yeah.
You know, you're not a big proponent of better cables and better interconnects. I've heard a demonstrable difference. I've done demos myself with, you know, Lin components with Lin speakers and Mark Levinson with Wilson speakers in the past. And I've changed from a Monster cable interconnect to a transparent, and with people around, but I've heard a difference.
Yeah, but was that before or after you smoked the weed?
Oh, I took like 4 bong hits. But anyways, no, but seriously, I actually absolutely heard a difference. I heard a larger sound stage, a more airy and open sound. You can't convince me that I didn't. Now, maybe it was adding to the sound or taking a, you know, who knows, but there actually was a difference, and I've heard that many, many times.
We'll do another video topic on this, but until you do a controlled listening test with cables, it's all conjuncture. So you got to really, the power of the mind plays tricks on you. Just seeing a fancy looking cable connected to your speaker is going to automatically bias you to think this is going to be better.
Right.
But that's another topic. I don't want to get off a tangent here. So we have 2 reasons why audiophiles tend to hate Monster. 1 is the litigious nature of the company. 2 is the questionable demos. And then 3, I would say, I know you're saying their stuff is good quality, but when you're a really extreme audiophile, Monster is like the Bose of cables. When you're looking,
it kind of is.
It is, because you're looking at the stuff we saw at the Florida Expo show. They had these cables that were thicker than a garden hose, and they were elevating them on wooden platforms. And they had silvery looks, that silver conductors.
Did that room sound badass though?
It did sound good, but it wasn't because of the cables.
Was it?
No, it was because you were doing the dance, man.
I was dancing. So, I mean, you know, Monster cable, I think a lot of people resent them because they were pushed so hard in retail. A lot of old retail salespeople had to hit. There was your SKU, the number of sales you needed to hit, and extended warranties. Then there was an accessory SKU that was dominated by Monster. Now you made more money, but you had to hit that. They added a lot of profit margin to electronic retailers in the past. So I think there was resentment from people who had to sell it, and there was resentment from people who bought a lot of it and doesn't necessarily. I mean, would better cables make a big difference if you bought like a Energy or a little small system with a receiver or what? Probably not. But you know, when you get into higher end audio, like many of our listeners and we are, then you can start to experiment. And I think there's a fine line. I think you need to reach a certain level of quality. Then anything above that's a diminishing return.
It's definitely the law of diminishing returns happening quickest on cable components than any other audio component in the industry. And that's why we say when you're budgeting your cables and what you're going to spend on your system, don't spend more than 5, maybe 7% of your entire budget on cables.
I think Blue Jeans is a great example. I mean, they really formed a niche and that really good level that you can get to. You know, you're buying a quality product, but it's not so esoteric that
yeah, it's
like
plain
brand.
looking. It's plain looking, but this is broadcast. This is broadcast quality stuff. This is what they use in TV studios and stuff.
Right.
Canary interconnectors and Belden 1694 coax. 1694 is the best coax you can get. So it'll do video and it'll do audio. So all right, so we established at least 2 or 3 reasons so far. I would say another reason would be just their nature of what they try to always do. Like they try to launch that cryptocurrency thing. They try to make their own money. It's like they're trying to. It's almost like they're run by Mr. Burns of
Dr.
The
Dre.
Simpsons.
I mean, with the whole, I don't want to get too deep into that. With the whole Beats thing, I think they were hurt on that. But I don't knock anybody for being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And trying to make money, because that's what this country's all about.
Sure.
As long as you bring out a good product that people want.
And you don't sue people over using a name when it's not in your genre of products.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, Monster Cable, for years, I made money from it. I felt good offering the product. So years ago in my home, I lived in a quasi-rural area on an acre, and the power line came through my yard, and I had some big trees. And the trees actually wore the jacketing off the power cable and caused what they call an open ground, I believe it was. And it was like poltergeist in my house. Fried my fridge, my stove, almost every appliance. The only thing that was saved was my electronics that were hooked to a Monster Power surge protector. Now, it was smoking, but it did its job. And that was a great product, and nobody really made that. I know Panamax made some stuff.
Yeah, back in the day.
But Monster made some really good quality products. The amps weren't bad.
You're talking about the HTS 3500, right?
In the 2600 and the 7000 and the various different models.
I had all those too. I had those
they were good
in my systems. Yeah, and you didn't lose power using them because they were true 12 or 15 amps.
So the X factor is when we go to trade shows, Monster had the best parties. I mean, I did it up with one of Noah Lee's sons, doing some drinking and hanging out one night at a party. I mean, they used to bring like Three Doors Down and big name groups and open bars. I mean, they threw down. They knew how to have a good time.
They did have the biggest exhibits at the trade shows and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's some positives with the company, but some of the negatives really kind of overshadow the brand. And like you said, they're not really a cable company anymore.
I just don't like bullies. That's why things that Bose has done, Under Armour, Monster, and various companies. I don't think that's fair to pick a name. And I understand you need to fiercely defend your trademark and your brand. But you can push that over the line, and going after companies that can't legally afford to fight you unless they have an attorney at the helm is kind of bullying. I'm not a big bully fan.
So what do you think the direction of Monster is going forward? Because they're not really the cable company
anymore. I think
anymore.
Monster's licensing some products right now. I don't think they're doing a whole lot. I know they're not really making or manufacturing products.
They're not like they were back in the heyday.
They're working on headphones, right? And they were doing some kind of casino thing. I don't know.
Well, that fell through as well.
I mean,
you don't see them as being in their heyday anymore, right?
No, call me and let's talk about this. I haven't really followed them in a long time. Yeah. I haven't sold their products in many years, but I sold tons of them, and it was really great.
Well, I think that's about it, guys. I mean, I'd like to hear your opinion about Monster Cable. What you've used from them. Be nice, Don't accuse us of hating, because we're trying to show both sides. I'm more of the skeptic. He's more of the lover, but it's good to have a difference of opinion. That's what makes us great. We're making audio great again.
Making audio great again.
Well, guys, I want to tell you about our Patreon channel. If you want to join us on Patreon, we'll give you some unique content that you're not getting on our YouTube or on the editorial site. We'll give you advanced looks at videos and other content that doesn't go online maybe for a couple of weeks or months at a time. So join us at patreon.com/audioholics. Become a patron of Audioholics. Help us. Help this guy. He needs a new shirt. You can't be keeping wearing this HD 2020.
Gene, I'd like to do a video on the Home of the Year that we won and kind of break that down so people can understand from start to finish and look at pictures and see what it takes to win basically an international award.
These guys won Home of the Year, and that was in
Consumer Technology
Florida,
Association and CE Pro. We beat houses from all over the country and other nations, so we're pretty proud of that. And I know a lot of people are building homes and whatnot, and it might be good for them.
That's why we brought Don on board, because I want to get more into the custom integration, the smart home kind of stuff. That's not my area of expertise. As you guys know, I'm an audio nerd, but Don is more of an integrator. He'll get it all set up. In fact, I've got Alexa integrated into my system so I could turn my lights on and off. And my
He says computer, lights on.
Yeah.
The Star Trek thing.
Exactly. So guys, I think that's it for now. Give us some comments about Monster, what you think about the brand and their products, and where do you think they're going in the future. And my friends, until next time,
Keep listening.